Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise in support of Amendment A06689, which will strengthen and improve Senate Bill 290 to expand the use of ignition interlocks across the Commonwealth and ultimately save lives. And Mr. Speaker, before I begin, I want my colleagues to know—
Sir, please suspend.
Yes, sir.
Members, if you please take your seats. Representative Greiner is offering an amendment, 6689, and would like to explain what the amendment does. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Representative Greiner. Representative, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want my colleagues to know that these amendments are the result of a collaborative effort of members of both parties, of the House Transportation and Judiciary staff, members of the District Attorneys Association, and also PennDOT. Many of the changes included in this amendment are technical in nature, but I want to provide my colleagues, as you stated, with a brief summary of this amendment. It was also agreed to with the maker of the bill over from the Senate. First, it provides further clarification to state that any vehicle operated by someone with an ignition interlock limited license must be equipped with an ignition interlock system. The current printer's number, as passed by the Senate, only required the vehicle driven most often by the offender be equipped with an ignition interlock device. This will strengthen the law by ensuring that those with an ignition interlock limited license only use vehicles that are properly equipped. Second, it streamlines the ignition interlock limited license program. Under the current printer's number, PennDOT will be required to issue 2 separate licenses, one for when an offender is carrying a license suspension and another for after their suspension is completed. The original intent of this legislation was to have one licensing program for anyone serving in this program. This amendment removes this duplicate requirement from PennDOT and streamlines the legislation. Third, it fixes an issue that could result from an offender refusing to submit to chemical testing, who would later go on to be convicted of general impairment. A refusal to submit to testing comes with an automatic license suspension. If later convicted of general impairment, for which there is no license suspension, a quote limbo unquote is created since they are already serving a license suspension. This amendment would give PennDOT the option to extend the term of the ignition interlock limited license up to the original term or recall it completely. Fourth, this amendment carries over the employer exemption that is currently in law and provides when an offender may or may not drive a company vehicle while they have an ignition interlock limited license. And fifth, this amendment provides clarity to the law to prosecute someone who tampers with an ignition interlock device. Under current law, tampering charges are rarely prosecuted because it is difficult to prove where the tampering took place. This amendment would clarify that for those who choose to tamper with an ignition interlock device, that the district attorney would be able to prosecute them, providing clarification as to where the crime took place. Mr. Speaker, this amendment improves and strengthens the legislation that came over from the Senate, and I would urge my colleagues to support it. I respectfully ask a yes vote on this amendment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.